Okay. All right. Good evening, folks. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the, what is the day today? May 14th, City of Helena Zoning Commission meeting. I want to let everyone know that the meeting is being recorded, just so you are aware if you do plan to provide public comment. And for the record, the Zoning Commission is a board of 5 members, and we must have a quorum of 3 members present in order to have a quorum and be able to take a vote tonight. So we'll reflect for the record that we do have a quorum present and ask April if you will do a quick roll call for us, please.
Sorry, sure. Chair Harbage.
Here.
Vice Chair Wilson is absent. Ms. Anderson.
Here.
Ms. Sorensen.
Here.
Ms. Story.
Here.
And I'm sorry, Mark, I don't quite have your last name yet, but our alternate is also here. So we have 5.
Will you state your name for the record?
Mark Rundy.
Thank you. Thank you, April. Sorry to put you on the spot. All right, let's see. We do have several items up on the agenda for public hearing tonight. But before we get to those, I do want to do a vote on the minutes from the April 9th meeting. Those were posted online, so hopefully everyone had a chance to take a look at them. I was not present at that meeting. So are there any edits to the minutes from April 9th? All right. Not hearing any. The minutes are approved as posted. Thank you, April. Moving on down the agenda, we'll get into our regular items for public hearing, and we'll start with item number 1. And then just for the record, so the audience knows how this will work, we typically run through a specific agenda with each of our items. We'll start with a staff presentation. We'll then go to commissioner questions for staff. We'll ask the applicant or a representative of the applicant to speak if they would like to add anything for commissioners to consider. We'll then open up the public portion of the hearing and accept public comment on that particular item. After public comment, we'll close that and allow for final questions or consideration discussion from the commission. We'll invite a motion, and then we'll have any further discussion before we make a recommendation. And just for the record, also the zoning commission makes recommendations to the city commission. So the decisions that we make tonight are not final decisions. There will be further hearings before the city commission as well. With that, Kyle, please. Thank you.
Item number 1 this evening, 1201 Wilder Avenue, a conditional use permit application for a residence multiple dwelling units use. Okay. This is a resolution to grant a conditional use permit to allow residence multi-dwelling unit use in an R2 zoning district for property legally described as lots 15 and 16 in block 97 of the Ming addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. The property is generally located at the southwest corner of Cleveland Street and Wilder Avenue. The current land use is residence single dwelling unit. The existing house will remain as is with the addition of the new duplex. The new duplex will be constructed on the north portion of the property. Sidewalks will be installed along the Cleveland Street frontage, and the project meets the district dimensional standards. Multiple dwelling units residence is a building containing 3 or more dwelling units for occupancy by 3 or more groups living separately from each other, including condominiums. The R2 residential districts provide residential dwellings and limited non-residential development. And our 2019 growth policy designates this area as mixed use, places where people can work, live, play, and learn. Development in these areas is usually denser and with the goal of achieving a unified, functional, efficient, and aesthetically appealing physical setting. Here is the site plan showing the new location. As stated, the existing house is to remain as is. New off-street parking will be added on the west side of the property to meet the off-street parking requirement. The new duplex will be built on the north of the property. It's a 2-story structure. Each unit has a single garage and an additional off-street parking space with the driveway. New sidewalk is going to be installed as in Boulevard. The application stated 39.7% lot coverage. I came up with 39.9% lot coverage. I got slightly different areas for the existing structure from the cadastral tax information. Either way, the 40% is the maximum for the zoning district. Here are the proposed elevations of the project. Here's the property as it currently sits. The top picture is looking southwest at the lawn where the duplex will be built. The bottom picture is showing the existing house from the alley. The surrounding blocks on Wilder are mostly single-story, single-family residences. There are a couple 2 stories. The majority of the houses are early 1900s, including the house that is on the property currently. There is 1 triplex in the 1300 block to the west. There are 3 duplexes in the 1100 block to the east, but as stated, the majority of the rest of the development is single-family house. Directly across the alley is B2 zoning district, the commercial along Euclid. Here is the plat with the subject property highlighted in red. The conditional use permit review criteria. A conditional use permit may be granted by the City Commission only upon findings supported by substantial credible evidence in the record that the following standards are met. The proposed conditional use, as conditioned, will not adversely impact public health, safety, or welfare. And the proposed conditional use, as conditioned, will not adversely impact the peaceful use of existing property or improvements in the vicinity in the zoning district in which the subject property is located. In considering whether these standards are met, the following factors must be considered in determining the impacts. Location, character, and natural features of the subject property, type and size of the proposed structure and improvements in the relative location, historic uses, established use patterns, and recent changes in trends to the neighborhood, conformity of the use with the neighborhood plan if one is adopted, current and proposed pedestrian, vehicular, and bicycle traffic, whether the use is consistent with the Helena Climate Change Action Plan, whether the proposal meets the need or meets the zoning standards without the need for variance, hours of operation, noise, glare, odor, and any expressed public opinion related to those factors. Any one factor may be sufficient to find adverse impacts for the purposes of 1134A1 and A2, justifying denial of the permit or placement of conditions. The existing structure in many of the surrounding properties date to the early 1900s. The project supports the following goals and objectives of the growth policy. Goal number 2, support housing that is safe, available, accessible, and affordable. Objective 14, support the development of housing located in proximity to necessary services and quality of life assets. And goal 10, plan for and establish types and quantities of land uses in Helena in supporting community needs in the city's long-term sustainability. And with that, objective 78, encourage infill development on vacant or underutilized land. The proposed project will improve pedestrian traffic by installing sidewalk along Cleveland Street. The addition of the dwelling unit is expected to add less than 20 vehicular trips per day based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers guidelines. As stated, it meets the city standards without requiring a variance, and the residential use conforms with surrounding uses and impacts such as noise, odor, and hours of use are expected to be consistent with surrounding properties. Department reviews. Transportation noted again that garages must be 20 feet back from the property line. It does meet this. And they stated that all new and existing sidewalks will need to be updated to ADA ProWAG standards. Fire said they will review at the time of building permit. Same with building. Addressing stated that even though this is addressed as Wilder for this purpose, because both of these face Cleveland, they would be addressed as Cleveland. And because they are removing the access of the existing property from Wilder, that address will need to be updated to a Cleveland Street address as well. Public Works stated no comment, and the Helena Citizens Council, Police, and Parks did not provide reviews. This meeting was legally noticed in the Independent Record on the 27th. Neighbor notices were sent to property owners within 150 feet on April 26th. The notice sign was placed on the Cole Avenue, oops, that is a typo, on the Wilder Avenue frontage on April 25th. As of today, there was 1 comment in partial support, 5 comments in opposition, and 1 petition against the proposal. The recommended language move to recommend approval of resolution granting conditional use permit to allow a residence multiple dwelling units use in an R2 zoning district for the property legally described as lots 15 and 16 in block 97 of the Ming addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. And at this time, are there any questions for city staff?
Thank you, Kyle. Are there questions for staff? Yes.
I do have one or two. Kyle, can you confirm how you'll access, maybe the site plan would be helpful to pull back up, but the existing house that I understand to remain, how do you then access that home?
So you can see in this upper picture, the front door is that white door going to kind of a enclosed porch there that
Yep.
faces to the east.
But from a vehicular standpoint,
Oh.
how would you access it looks like there's something written in on the site plan that says off-street parking for house. How would you access that?
I'll leave the applicant to that. That will be accessed off, the actual parking will be accessed off the alleyway.
Okay,
I assume that's what you're asking, not the actual circulation through the lot from the house.
right.
Right.
And to be clear, the alley is not shown on this site plan that's in front of us, right?
It is not.
It's really kind of right where it says the word
Mhm.
site plan,
Correct.
probably.
Correct.
I have one more.
Yes.
Has the city analyzed how far away those cuts are from the Wilder and Cleveland intersection, distance wise?
No, I don't have that specific number. I believe the distance only has to be 10 feet of full height curb though, to the curb cut.
From the edge of curb on the south side of Wilder, only has to be 10 feet?
Sorry, what do you, I might be misunderstanding your question there.
I think my primary concern is that the curb cuts are too close to the intersection and may be a safety concern because of people pulling out of the garage.
Again, transportation reviewed this and had no concerns about it.
Okay.
But and further review will be done with the building permit. But as stated, transportation's only comment was related to the sidewalks in the actual distance of the garage doors to the property line.
Understood. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Actually, too. All those duplexes in this couple block radius, were those all single home conversions?
These are all rather old and I'm not sure I would be able to answer that definitively, but yes, they appeared to be single family homes with a second unit added into them, not built specifically. As you can see, like this one only has one front door. And then you can see the egress window well in the front there for a basement bedroom.
And my other question is if this zoning didn't go through, is this something that the lot could just be split?
That was discussed. As you can see on this, with this design, there is not a way to maintain 16 feet between the deck of the existing house and the wall of the new project to be able to divide it into two properties that way.
I'm also maybe guessing that the duplex side wouldn't meet the coverage requirements any longer either. Maybe without.
No, it would be over 40%.
Can I ask a follow-up question off of that? So, if, let's say this was denied, the lot could still be split as in its current configuration with that single house on it, right?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Like I said, this particular design would not be obtainable, but another plan may be possible.
And then-
I will leave that to the applicant to speak more as to the feasibility of that with their intention.
Sure. And then my question is if, like, say it was split and then on the now, what would be the vacant part of the lot?
Mhm.
Could a single family home be built on that, or could a very small duplex be built on that? What are the rules in R2?
Yes, even as it is now, if they built a single family, that would be permitted by right.
Mhm.
If they were to split it, yes, they could do it as two single family units, the existing and the new, or the existing and a duplex, if they could make that work.
Okay, thanks.
Are there other questions for staff? I have one that maybe will be a question for the applicant, and that's fine. You can just tell me, do you know the height of the existing single family home?
Ooh, I do not.
Okay.
As you can see, it's a single story, but I don't know the actual height of it. No.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff? Nope. All right. Thank you very much, Kyle. All right, at this point in the agenda, we will invite the applicant or a representative of the applicant to provide comment if they wish. It is not required. I understand that the applicant is joining on Zoom.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state your
Okay.
name for the record.
My name is B.G. Stumberg or Berthold G. Stumberg. And I own the property at 1201 Wilder. And I'm trying to remember, but I think the height of the building there at Wilder, it's a 2-bedroom home, is, I want to say 16 feet. I don't know if that helps or not.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Can I answer any questions?
Are there questions for the applicant? You're welcome to make a presentation if you'd like to, if there's anything you want to add. Otherwise, we can see if commissioners have questions.
I think Kyle has done a wonderful job, and I'm not sure what else I would add to what he has presented.
That is certainly fair enough. Thank you. Are there questions from commissioners for the applicant? Sure, go ahead.
I've got a question about parking, because a lot of the public comments that we received appeared to be related to parking. So
Mhm.
in the design, are the garages for each duplex big enough to hold a car, or are they kind of more like storage unit sized?
No, they're definitely big enough to hold a car. And there would be parking if someone wanted. They could pull into the garage, they could park a second car in the driveway. And then, of course, at this present time, there's been a lot of parking on the street. And then we would, because of the addition of the duplex, we would make a parking lot there or parking place there off the alleyway, which Kyle showed earlier. And right now that's a very large space, so I don't think there'd be any issue with it parking at least one car there.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any further questions for the applicant? This time?
May I, if I may, let me just state, there is no sidewalk on Cleveland at the present moment. So we would be adding a sidewalk for that part of the area, as well as the cut in the curb for the driveway going into the, the two garages. And then there is no cut in the alleyway to go into a parking place beside the house. And actually, I don't think there's very much drop there in the alleyway. I think it's maybe a foot, if that. So those, I think, I would consider those all improvements to the property and improvements for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Stumberg. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this moment, but if anybody has a question, I'll try to answer it.
Okay, great. Thank you. We may circle back, but we will close that portion of the agenda and move on to public comment. So at this point in the agenda, I would invite anyone who is here or online and would like to offer public comment on this particular agenda item to please come forward. And if you would, please state your name for the record when you begin. Is that on? Just one, just sorry to interrupt. Is
So
that
if you would
microphone?
please press the button on the microphone.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jeff House. I reside at 1217 Wilder Avenue. And I would just like to do a follow-up with Mr. Stromberg. That house is not 16 feet tall. It's a little stubby house. The entrance in from the alley is not a big entrance. To turn a vehicle, I just drove down the alley to come to this meeting tonight, and I looked down there where they are suggesting where they want to put that at. It's going to be a very difficult time to pull a car off the alley into that little tiny area. And with that, I'll just make my comments. The Cleveland Street parking is ridiculous. There's been times where cars are parked on both sides of Cleveland, which makes it where you can only have one lane of traffic. I've seen people backed up on Wilder waiting to get a lane to get up to the light. That's a big concern there. At one time, Town Pump on their little grassy knoll right there on the west side, there used to be a sign there that said no parking because people coming off of Euclid to turn down to Cleveland on north to come north. I've seen a lot of accidents almost happen. The alley, again, it's just ridiculous that the entrance on that alley already is getting torn up because of the amount of traffic that we get from the semis that go to home beautifiers. That's another problem there. The intersection, like I say, it's been backed up behind Wilder, like 8 o'clock traffic, people going to school. The other thing I have a concern about is property taxes. Will it help or hinder, especially being on a fixed income? I don't want to be taxed out of my house. And the sewer system, how many people are going to be living in those apartments? That's going to add a lot more stress to the sewer systems, which is already so dilapidated in that area because it's so old. And I just have a concern about who they're going to rent to. And I'm not picking on Carroll College, but we've had experiences with some of the houses there that have rented to Carroll College students, and there was problems there. So with that, I again thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. House.
I have some Google Maps here. that kind of go along with my issues. My name is Barbara Belts, and Jim Emerson and I have the property just west of this proposal, and we share a fence line with them. So if you could orient your map north, that's the Helena Valley, and then south is Mount Helena itself. And so the property in question is the red square. And all of my comments tonight have to do with safety issues. So, and I am very opposed to this change. So could I direct your attention to the C.R. Anderson School? It's a middle school and it's on the left bottom corner of this map. There's a lot of walking traffic with these kids going to school all up and down Cleveland. And they choose this particular street because there's a light there and they can cross the street and get to school. So during the morning rush hour, let's put it, there's a lot of school traffic and also a lot of traffic that want to hit that light and go toward town and toward the Capitol. So that is a very busy block of Cleveland Street. So, and it's a safety issue for these kids. Mr. Stromberg is planning on the driveway backing onto Cleveland, but at rush hour, the 4 to 6 new cars that will be probably in the area will be backing onto Cleveland, and I don't know how they're going to do that at rush hour if they have to get out. So anyway, that's a big concern. So our block is half commercial, half residential. And I want to just go over the commercial properties on this block. So if you go toward Mount Helena from the proposed build and cross Cleveland, so this is the Exxon station. It's not just a gas station, it's also a casino and a mini mart. And so there are lots of walkers and cars and parking that use this particular property. They have 3 parking spaces in the alley, and I've shown the squiggle lines as the alley. 3 parking spaces there and parking right above the alley as well. And so cars that come out of the gas station and turn left onto Cleveland in order to access the light. There's a lot of traffic there. It's a very popular gas station. And as we move across Cleveland, we have the gaming place. This is called the White Knight Games. And they have, it's not a casino game, but it's more computers and board games. And so when they have their events, the overflow parking goes right across from the proposed build, and they park their cars along Cleveland. And it's not a problem now, but with 4 to 6 new cars in that proposed build, it's going to be crowded. It's going to be a big squeeze for parking. Next to the White Knight is Home Beautifiers. And in the alley, they have 3 commercial vans. They don't park in the alley. They have a little carved out space where they park for their loading zone. And these vans use the alley and go up and down the alley and access Cleveland and the light. They also have some big semis that come and deliver materials to Home Beautifiers or the Helena Motorsports. I'm not sure which gets the delivery, but that puts a lot of use in this alley. And next to them are the new business called Helena Motorsports, and they have ATVs and 4x4s and snowmobiles and watercraft and things like that. But they test drive their vehicles down the alley and either on to Allison or on to Cleveland and then on to Wilder to do their little test drive. So that's a lot of congestion when in summer months. because they sell a lot of them. And then across Allison from them, I put little pink dots there and a little pavement line. That's where they store the vehicles. The little squiggly lines are a fenced-in area where they put the new deliveries. And the parking lot there is where they keep the vehicles that are ready to move. There is no parking in their actual business. It's all on-street parking for their customers on Allison Street. And so that can be a really dangerous turn to make when people are getting in and out of their cars and the little four-wheelers are getting out into the road and going around our residential block. And then right on Wilder Street, I have some yellow dots. Vans Thriftway is the only supermarket on our side of town, and lots of people walk, bicycle, or drive down Wilder to get to Vans. Vans is 4 blocks down. That intersection of Cleveland and Wilder right there has had a number of traffic accidents. So as you can see, it's a busy block. And a lot of it is because it's half commercial and half residential. So the other concern that I have is the runoff. Toward Mount Helena, Cleveland is a steep street down, crossing Euclid and coming down Cleveland. And the folks that live right on the corner there on the north side of Wilder have had water pooled in the street. And so their parking is questionable when it's a deluge. And so they're going to have to find different parking. And the neighbors that are across Wilder on the right-hand side have had to build a little retaining wall because sometimes in a deluge, it would go into their yard. And so they either built or had the city built a little retaining wall to keep the water out of their yard. And so the runoff is a real problem. And this new build is going to add to the runoff because they have a driveway, they have that duplex, and they're planning that parking space between our house and the existing little house. So that's another big concern. And lastly, it's with the new build, they're planning the driveway and the garage. But a lot of people don't use their garages as garages. They use them as storage units. And so this will be the extra cars parked either on Cleveland or on Wilder. And it works out now because everybody is really considerate with having people park in front of their own houses. And it's only when there's company cars or when there's a builder or a repairman that comes, is there a problem with parking in front of your own house? But with an extra 4 to 6 cars in this new proposal, it's going to be a challenge to find parking. And so, as you can see, a lot of safety issues, in my opinion, in this new build. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Constance House, and my husband spoke earlier. I would like to add a couple of my concerns to his comments already. If cars are parked on both sides of Cleveland, the spillover parking would be on Wilder Avenue. There is a limited parking spot on what there are limited parking spots on Wilder for the existing residents. As it is now, there's not always on-street parking in front of our house for our guests. We currently park our cars in the back of our property. My father is almost 91 years old and can't walk, and sometimes they can't park in front of our house to get him into our house. So if the parking spaces on the east end of us on Wilder are taken by The apartment complex, the residents east of us will park further west, further infringing on our parking in front of our house. The renters, I have a concern about the proposed homes being rented to Carroll College students with 3 bedrooms in each proposed home. That could mean an increase of 6 residents and possibly 6 cars or more on Cleveland and Wilder trying to park. Again, parking is a big issue. The Cleveland Euclid intersection is at times backed up past Wilder and Cleveland intersection. That makes it harder for students to travel safely on Wilder through those intersections to get to and from C.R. Anderson School, especially the winter months when the roads are slippery. And again, what's this going to do to our property values and our property taxes? So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments on this agenda item?
Hi, my name is Sarah Falig. I live at 1139 Wilder Avenue, directly across the street from this proposed building. I'm halfway through my pregnancy with our first child. Sorry, my husband just found out that he lost his job, so now we're going to put our house on the market, and I'm really concerned with this proposal. We do have to disclose this when we put it on the market, and I'm just really nervous about the implications of that. I think this request is a terrible idea, driven by greed. It'll hurt all my neighbors, including me and my family that I'm starting. I agree completely with all of their concerns for safety and parking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily Mangum, and my husband and our family and I are the current residents at 1201 Wilder. Aside from any personal opinions on the changes made to the lot, my husband is a civil engineer with the state of Montana, and I'm a landscape architect. And my comments this evening are some thoughts from our professional perspective of what the effect would be on the neighborhood. So 56.3% of the site would become impervious hardscape area. That includes not only the building structures, that would equal that 39.9%, but also any additional hardscape with the sidewalk, which would be a good addition for public safety, especially for the children traveling up and down that road. But also driveways and the proposed patio areas that are shown in the plan. As previous people have mentioned, there's definitely some concern with weather and rain and the runoff. There's already quite a bit of runoff during storms. We currently park on the street. As you guys saw on some of those pictures, that's my vehicle. And we have our 2 vehicles parked out there all the time, as there is no off-site or off-street parking on the site currently. And coming down Cleveland, there's quite a bit of runoff during major storms, which we get a few of each year. And it turns into quite the river. And has been previously mentioned, there's already quite a bit of water buildup at those residences on the north side of Wilder. And so our major concern with that is that removing a huge amount of that pervious landscape area that is currently absorbing quite a bit of water already during major storms would be taken away. And our concerns would be for those residences on the north side of the street that currently may have those low retaining walls or no mitigation whatsoever, but that there could be flooding or concerns for those residences there. And that would be an additional 41.5% of additional impervious area added to the site in total. So another concern with storm runoff, especially when we're talking about the melting of snow and things like that, when we have the crazy highs and lows and weather changes that Helena gets, would be that off-street parking proposed off of the alleyway for the current residents. And while it is a generous amount of space for 1 vehicle at the current moment, Our concern would be creating that access. And there's between 12 to 18 inches of grade change between the alleyway and the level ground that the house is built on. And so if you were to create an access point to create that off-street parking, you would then have to gradually create that transition so that you're not going off of 12 to 18 inches of grade change to park your vehicle. So you'd have to make that transition. And with that, we would have concerns of water running directly into the house. There is a back door, which would be how you would access the residence if that was created into parking areas. But with that grading that you would need to do to create that parking area, we have concerns about water moving directly towards the building structure and having water go into the building itself. Sorry, I'm just trying to read my notes. As has been previously mentioned, there have been accidents in the past, quite a few of them at that Cleveland and Wilder intersection, as it is an uncontrolled intersection currently. There's no stop signs at any of the intersections. And obviously with adding more vehicles there, you're adding more traffic, as it has been stated, during rush hour. And with those access points for those new garages being, in my opinion, also very close to that intersection as well, I worry for the safety of their vehicles and the children that are walking up to the middle school. I can also speak from experience that in spite of wearing bright colors, watching for other vehicles and things like that, people drive very, very fast up Cleveland when there's not a lot of traffic. And when there is a lot of traffic, even with our attempts to be very visible, wearing bright colors, like I said, and trying to do our due diligence as pedestrians, trying to get into our vehicles, our cars have been hit on a few different occasions from people being careless going down that street. And so if there's an added increase in vehicles there and limited parking, and with that building being so close to that intersection as well, we worry about visibility and continued safety for anyone that is accessing that street as a pedestrian or getting into their vehicles. Also, the proposed buildings will be built directly above the utility lines of the existing building. And so far, we have not seen mention of a plan for how to preserve or mitigate those existing lines so that the residents, us or future ones, can continue to use that home. And then lastly, the application states that all trees or the majority of them will be preserved. And unfortunately, after reviewing the plans with those proposed changes, nearly all of them, if not all of them, will be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments on this agenda item? April, is there anything online?
So the applicant has his hand raised. Would you? This is at your discretion.
Mr. Sternberg, you already had your chance to speak, and just to allow this to be sort of balanced, I appreciate that you probably have some things you'd like to respond to, and if commissioners have questions, they can certainly ask you, and then you'll be able to weigh in. Thank you, April. Are there any further comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. And are there further final questions, considerations from the commission?
I have a quick question. I don't know if our folks from the city here today can help, but does anyone know why the drainage situation is so bad down there? Is it unfixable?
That is not something I'm able to answer. That would be a public works question. So unfortunately, I do not have an answer for that.
I guess I have a question too, Kyle. I think it's for you. If the current property owner wanted to build, say, a garage with the same curb cuts as is proposed, what would be the review procedure for that?
It would be just a standard building permit. Transportation would get their chance to weigh in at that moment, same as any other project about the location of the curb cut.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or considerations? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask Kyle another question? So it seems like there's a lot of hazards already on Cleveland Street and the intersections that are uncontrolled. So is it even possible to condition this conditional use permit with, you know, those types of traffic mitigation measures, like adding traffic control features, or is that outside the scope of what the city can do here?
What are you talking about? Like sidewalk bulb outs or your stop signs or
I was thinking stop signs, just more control on that street to prevent, you know, accidents and the other hazards that we heard about.
I believe Matthew from the city attorney's office is on. Maybe he can weigh in on that. I'm not sure as to the scope of what you're allowed to condition.
Sure.
So this is Matthew. I would have to look into that some more. I'm inclined to talk to transportation before, directing you as to what conditions you could apply to this, specifically with the stop signs.
Turn myself off. And that's helpful. I'm not suggesting that we try to, you know, wing out some conditions right now, because I don't think we're prepared to do that. But if this was denied and it came back later, those could be some considerations for a future application.
Are there any further questions from the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion and then we can further discuss the motion.
I will move to recommend approval of a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow a residence multiple dwelling units use in an R2 zoning district for the property legally described as lots 15 and 16 in block 97 of the Ming addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana.
Is there a second?
I guess I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Has been moved and seconded. I will look to Commissioner who made the motion to discuss.
Yes, I am very sympathetic to a loss of parking and a concern that other residents who come in to that neighborhood will take parking that is in front of your home. I live in a home where people park in front of my house every day also. And I'm very sympathetic to the safety concerns that are brought up. Unfortunately, from my standpoint, if transportation has reviewed this, we're not in a place to argue with their review of how that intersection functions. So I really think the city commission should consider the safety concerns that have been brought up, and I appreciate you bringing those. You should also bring them to the city commission. But I do not believe that we are in a place or of the scope that can help in this case.
Thank you. Is there further discussion of the motion?
Is this where discussion disapproving of the motion would also be appropriate? Okay. I am not, I don't think, in favor of this one, simply because I don't think, I'm pretty concerned about the drainage, and I think that's a relevant concern with this much additional build. I also think that, given the other types of duplex, triplex in the area, they're all based on what was previously a single family home. So really specifically for this development, I don't think I would do a conditional use permit. Typically with zoning changes, I don't really consider what's being built there as much because we're looking at the rest of the area and whether the zoning matches the other areas. In this case, it wouldn't if this were being upgraded to an R3. And I have enough concerns about just the overall density, given some of the concerns that have been brought up for this particular proposal. That doesn't mean I wouldn't consider it if it were not this proposal.
Is there further discussion?
I guess I'll add that I'm really conflicted on this particular motion because the city's growth policy directs us to encourage infill in development on vacant or underutilized lots. And I think that this particular lot is kind of the definition of that, where it's set back so far from Wilder and all the other houses are kind of have normal setbacks. And this one just has a lot of open space in their yard, which is great, you know, if they want to keep having a yard there. But I live in a similar duplex, triplex thing that's what's being designed on a street that's not nearly as busy as Cleveland. And I wished that the planners had made more plans for parking because it's extremely difficult. And so I think I'm going to be a no vote on this. But this has been a really tough decision for me. And I agree, it's not our place to question our folks at the who handle the engineering and design and approval for this type of project. But I think there's some work that needs to be done on Cleveland Street and Wilder Street just to deal with the congestion and traffic in this area already. And I don't know if adding another duplex here is the right call if we're just going to exacerbate an existing problem that's already pretty bad. But this is a tough decision for me.
So further discussion of the motion. I'll add in, I appreciate the remarks that have already been made. And I would agree that this is a difficult decision because as we know, we are in need of more housing options in the city of Helena. I also agree with some of the review from the city that infill using existing infrastructure is a positive way to address the housing need so that we're not encouraging sprawling outside of the city. With that said, I think it is imperative that the city look at areas in which that infill may be appropriate and plan for it appropriately. So we've heard concerns about parking, drainage, traffic flow, and safety. I am not convinced that the city has put much thought into how should this particular area develop if this is indeed an area that we would like to see infill development happen. I would love to see some sort of a neighborhood plan prepared for this particular area. I understand the concerns we've heard. New construction, especially in an older neighborhood like this, definitely does impact the look and feel. Infill and new development absolutely impacts property values and can impact property taxes. I know that that is a very sensitive topic right now across the state. I have concerns with the existing vehicular impacts in this particular area. And as my fellow commissioners have already said, conflicted on it because when we typically as a zoning commission look at a block like this where there's B2 up against like low density residential, it typically makes sense that that would be a higher density sort of buffer area. However, it does not seem, especially with the uncontrolled intersection there and this being the block that has the light on Euclid, it doesn't seem that the planning has been done to make it safe to do this level of dense development in this particular area. So I think I'm going to be a no vote on this as well, but is there further discussion or commentary? All right. If not, I'm not seeing anything. We'll go ahead and call for a vote, and April, can we do a roll call?
Absolutely. Chair Harbage,
No.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen,
No.
Ms. Story,
No.
Mr. Rundy.
Yes.
The motion fails.
Thank you. So I believe that despite the motion failing tonight, this will still go to the
It will,
city commission?
unless the applicant chooses to withdraw it, but yes, it will still go to the city commission just without your recommendation.
Okay. And if I find my notes, I think that is on July 15th. Is the city commission hearing? That's what's in our packet.
I thought it was June 17th, but I may be wrong.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong sheet. For this one in our packet, I see.
I did
city-
write July 15th.
Yeah.
I will have to check on that.
But there will be
Yes,
proper
public notice will be
notice.
sent again. The board will be stated. Everyone in the room will have their equal chance to present their information in their case at that time too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, folks, for voicing your opinions. We appreciate the perspectives. All right, that closes item number 1 on our agenda. We'll move on to item number 2 and invite city staff.
I'm going to give everyone a moment to clear out here. All right. Item 2 this evening, 515 North Ewing Street. A zone change application from PLI to R3. Consideration of an ordinance amending City of Helena Ordinance Number 3097 in the official zoning map for the City of Helena that changes the zoning district from public lands and institutions to R3 residential for the property legally described as all of Lot 9 in the north half of lots 10, 11, and 12 in block 434 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. The property is generally located on the south side of the intersection of 10th Avenue in North Ewing. The current zoning designation is PLI. The applicant is seeking a zone change to R3. The R3 zoning will align with the surrounding residential neighborhood. The R3 zoning will allow for limited commercial activity on the site with a conditional use permit. Below, you see the plat showing the location of the property. The PLI district provides for and applies only to public and quasi-public institutional uses in lands and recreational, educational, and public service activities for the general benefit of the city. The R3 residential district provides for the development of a mixture of residential structures to serve varied housing needs and allows limited compatible non-residential uses. Again, in the 2019 growth policy, this area is designated as mixed use, places where people can work, live, play, and learn. These include a variety of complementary and integrated uses, such as residential and office uses. Development is usually denser in a comprehensive pattern to achieve unified, functional, and aesthetically appealing setting, and provides opportunities for public connectivity, transportation, and walkability. Per Montana Code 762304, criteria and guidelines for zoning regulations must be made in accordance with a growth policy and designed to secure safety from fire and other dangers, promote public health, public safety, and general welfare, and facilitate the adequate provision of transportation, water, sewage, schools, parks, and other public requirements. and adoption of zoning regulations, the municipal governing body shall consider the provision of adequate light and air, the effect on motorized and non-motorized transportation systems, promotion of compatible urban growth, the character of the district and its peculiar suitability for particular uses, in conserving the value of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of land throughout the area. The 2019 growth policy designates this as mixed use, intended to include variety of residential and office uses. The PLI zoning district restricts the type of uses typically found in a mixed use area by limiting both residential and commercial activities. PLI zoning districts prohibit use outside of large-scale community residential facilities and prohibits almost all sales and service uses. The zoning change will bring the property in alignment with the predominant zoning of the area. This will give the subject property the same zoning rights and restrictions as the surrounding residential neighborhood. This property is served by all City of Helena emergency services and utilities. A public lands and institutions use is expected to generate approximately 131 trips per 5 acres for a low intensity PLI use, such as a worship facility during the week, to 3,500 trips per day for a high intensity use, such as an administrative government facility. An R3 residential use is expected to generate only approximately 89 daily trips for a low density 5 acre parcel, such as single family housing, and 218 daily trips for a high density residential use. So this will potentially lessen the impact of traffic on the neighborhood compared to potential PLI uses. Through department comments, transportation says the requested zone change will not substantially change existing traffic patterns, and therefore they are okay with the proposal. Historic preservation gave no comment. They said as the facade will not be altered by this, there's nothing for them to comment on. Fire commented that any future work will need to be reviewed. Building, addressing, public works, and parks all provided no comment reviews. Again, the Helena Citizens Council and police did not provide comment on this project. This aligns with the growth policy through several of the goals and objectives. Goal 1, to promote and sustain Helena's economic vitality, supporting existing business and attracting a diverse range of economic sectors. Goal 9, sustaining the historic downtown as the heart of Helena, bringing the community together and enhancing its commercial service and civic vitality. This is a little outside of the downtown district, but it is immediately adjacent to the cathedral and other items that we would typically kind of consider as landmarks of downtown. Goal 10, plan for and establish types and quantities of land uses in Helena supporting community needs, neighborhood centers, aesthetics, and the city's long-term sustainability. And then objective 69, work to preserve to mitigate potential loss of historic, cultural, and aesthetically significant features. And objective 77, to apply or revise zoning designations with careful consideration of future land use, compatible surrounding land, infrastructure, development of vacant and underutilized buildings, traffic patterns, and the goals and objectives of the growth policy. For zoning compatibility, as stated, this would simply bring the property into alignment from the surrounding PLI to the surrounding R3 and give no unique rights or privileges. Again, this meeting was noticed in the record on the 27th. Neighbor notices were sent on the 26th. Sign was placed on the 25th. And as of today, no comments have been received. And city recommendation would be to move to recommend approval of an ordinance amending City of Helena ordinance number 3097 in the official zoning map for the City of Helena that changes the zoning district from PLI to R3 for the property legally described as all of lots 9 in the north half of lots 10, 11, and 12 in block 434 of the Allen addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. And at this time, are there any questions for city staff regarding this?
Are there questions for staff?
I apologize if I missed this, Kyle. The use of the building is not changing?
That's potentially a better question for the next, to be addressed at the next item.
Okay.
So I was directed that a zone change is not supposed to consider specific use, but potential large-scale use of the district.
Well, it has to consider some specifics because we're saying that certain things are not allowed in PLI and certain things are not allowed in R3. So at the very minimum, you're assuring me that the change in use is in.
So there, with the zone change and then the subsequent approval of the conditional use permit, the next item, there would be additional use added to the property to support general services use from the civic use that's allowed now in the professional offices use that we allowed to operate under a grandfathered condition. So.
Sounds complicated.
Yes, sort of. Like I said, technically, I think it's a better addressed question with the conditional use permit for the specifics of what they want to do. But yes, ultimately the zone change is driven because of a use that is permitted in the R3, but is not permitted in the PLI. If that kind of answers your question in the general for the moment. Or I just made things more confusing.
Generally answers the question, yeah.
I have one follow-up question to that, on a similar vein. It seems odd to me to propose a zone change to a zone for which you will still need a conditional use permit to operate. Did the city provide guidance on?
Yes.
Appropriate
So
zone?
this initial application has been in the works for more than a year. The initial desire was a zone change to RO, but there was not a path forward that could support that without potential spot zoning issues. There wasn't enough buy-in from the neighborhood for a complete rezone to upzone the neighborhood to generate that. So we went through various configurations of how that maybe could be addressed, and it just couldn't be, a path couldn't be found. This was kind of the only compromise path that staff was able to find here. Ideally, yes, we'd have been able to do this without having to do the additional conditional use permit as well. But that's how it worked out.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Are there further questions for staff? Nope. All right.
Oh,
No?
I do.
Yes.
I do. And maybe you can tell me this is a question for the applicant too, if they were to come up, but if the conditional use permit is not approved, then is there still interest in changing the zoning from PLI to R3? If that's the ultimate path, right?
Yeah, I will leave that to the applicant. My understanding at the moment and what, knowing permitted uses, the current uses as the community center in the professional offices that we've grandfathered in would still be permitted either way if it was changed to R3. Like the current use wouldn't become a prohibited use. They just wouldn't necessarily be able to add this additional kind of commercial viability they're seeking.
Any further questions for staff? I'm not seeing any. Thanks,
you.
Kyle. All right, at this time, we will invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to please come up and provide comment if you'd like. And please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, members of the commission. My name is Kathy Brown. I am the representative for the owner at this particular time. I'm also a licensed property manager, and I've been managing the property and was a large part of the application for the zoning change. And to answer your question, when the Montana Jewish Project purchased the building from the Catholic Diocese, they did it for a couple of reasons, but one, obviously, they wanted to bring the building back into the hands of the Jewish community. But their path going forward was to be able to use the upper floor for the Montana Jewish Project offices, some small event type things, but to use the offices, they'd always been offices in that building for decades, and to be able to lease out those offices to professional businesses in order to help maintain some cash flow to upgrade the building. Not upgrade, but maintain is a better term. It's an old building. It's got great character, a lot like our city building here. But they didn't realize that the PLI zone was going to limit them in the type of clientele that they could lease to. So thanks to city staff, they did find the grandfathered area. So we have been able to lease a few offices, but it limits us, for example, counselors, for whatever reason, counselors are not considered professional services. So I don't know what they're considered, but we wanted to rent to attorneys, CPAs, engineers, nonprofits, counselors, and it was without this change, it really limits who we can lease the offices to. And there's only a few offices, so that was our premise for doing this. And the city staff has been great. He's correct. It's been over a year as we've just tried to find the path forward on this. So appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Julie Burr. I'm the Vice President of the Montana Jewish Project Board of Directors. I want to echo what Kathy said, and very much we are very grateful for the city and working in cooperation with us. As you know, we stand in the historic Temple Emmanuel. We serve as an anchor for interfaith understanding and education about the Jewish community, which is all the more important at the time of rising anti-Semitism. I will say the vision is not a bustling building of retail. The vision is still maintaining the calm character of the neighborhood. We anticipate that even renting out those full first 2 floors with all those tenants, we anticipate even less daily traffic in the neighborhood than there was when the diocese was there with their 30 staff. So our vision is very much to respect the character of the neighborhood. I'll close and I can add more at the next item if needed. So we really appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for the applicant? Is there anyone I'm missing for an applicant or applicant representative? We're good. We'll still get to public comment. Okay. Are there questions for the applicant? Okay. All right. We will open our public comment then. If you'd like to provide public comment, either in support or opposition, please feel free to come up and introduce yourself.
Hi. My name is David Roberts, and I own the single-family residence at 512 North Rodney. So it's on the corner of Rodney and 10th Avenue. So our properties abut with the Jewish Center. And I would just, I'm in favor of the approval of the ordinance change and the conditional use permit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Robinson. I live at 506 North Rodney. And our home is kitty corner across the block from the old chancery, as I would call it. And I'm standing here to support the changes that are made. It seems like an awfully convoluted process we've got here. But they're using the building essentially the same as the diocese did since it acquired the building, I think, back in the 1970s. And it's basically, in fact, it's probably more church with the Jewish community than it was with the chancery, because that was all business offices for the diocese. And what we're seeing here, what I think they're proposing is, the two of the floors will have some professional offices, but it will not be anywhere near as busy as the diocese offices were. And I think it's a good fit for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment? April, is there any online?
We do not have any public online.
Right, last call, public comment. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. Are there final questions or considerations from the commission? No, seeing none. Is there a motion?
Oh, you go for it.
I'd like to make motion to recommend approval of an ordinance amending City of Helena Ordinance number 3097 and the official zoning map for the City of Helena that changes the zoning district from public lands and institutions, PLI, to R3 residential for the property legally described as all of Lot 9 and the north 1/2 of lots 10, 11, and 12 in Block 434 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana.
I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Seeing no negative public comment, obviously two neighbors in support. Appreciate you coming to support this complicated approach. I see no reason why I should not be voting in favor.
I'll just add, it doesn't seem to be changing the historic use of this place. So if this is this odd way we need to get to what is already happening or has happened before, that it makes sense to me.
Any further discussion?
And I guess I would add that it sounds like, based on Kyle's presentation, that PLI allows for significant vehicle trips to those types of properties. And it seems like here that we haven't heard any evidence that there's going to be equivalent vehicle trips, and that R3 is a more applicable zoning designation for this particular property.
Any further discussion? All right. We will just do a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. We will move on to item number 3.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. 515 North Ewing Street, a conditional use permit for a general services professional offices use in an R3 zoning district. Consideration of a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow general services professional offices uses in an R3 zoning district for the property legally described as all of Lot 9 and the north half of lots 10, 11, and 12 in Block 434 of the Allen addition to the City of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. Again, This property is generally located on the southeast side of the intersection of 10th Avenue and North Ewing. The current land uses are professional offices and community center. The property at 515 North Ewing is currently zoned PLI. The applicant, sorry to repeat myself a lot here, but you understand how it is. The applicant and the property owner are requesting a zone change to the predominant zoning of the area. This will allow them to seek the present conditional use permit. Consideration of this CUP is predicated upon approval of the zone change. The building was built in 1891 as a synagogue. Since 1935, it has been used by professional offices, first by the state of Montana, and since 1981 by the Catholic Diocese. When purchased by the Montana Jewish Project in 2022, the use of professional offices was allowed to be continued as an existing non-conforming use. This CUP will allow for general services use that align with both the property owner's objectives and the character of the neighborhood. And it'll allow the owners to bring the use of professional offices into a conforming use. General services, professional and personal care services where the customers come to the property for service, including but not limited to photography, fitness, weight loss, postal hairstyling, pet grooming, copying, printing, laundry, dry cleaning services, and tattoo establishments. And professional offices are facilities where the customer may come to the property for service, such as engineering, accounting, legal, architectural, and insurance. The difference there, and especially counselors were referenced in the previous item. Counselors are general services, not professional offices, solely because the client needs to be present versus an engineer, architect, accountant, where the client only comes at selected times. The R3 residential district provides for the development of a mixture of residential structures and limited compatible non-residential uses. And again, mixed use, these areas include a variety of complementary and integrated uses such as residential and office. The existing site and structure is to remain as is. Parking is accessed off of 10th Street. There's pedestrian access through sidewalks on both frontages, 10th and Ewing. There's no proposed changes to the landscaping, signs, or lighting, and no change to city solid waste services or utilities. Those are accessed as the blue X there on the image from the alley. Portions of the interior are configured for office use presently. No changes are proposed for the structure. And again, as this is a historic property, no exterior alterations are being proposed. Here's the property looking southeast on the top picture, and this is the backside of it from the parking lot on the bottom. Directly across Ewing Street is the backside of the St. Helena Cathedral. Directly across 10th Avenue is First Presbyterian Church. Adjacent to the south is a residence that is still owned by the Catholic Diocese. But outside of that, you can see it's typical R3 residential as seen throughout the kind of older portions of Helena there. Again, here's the plat showing the proposed property. I'll cut it down as much as I can. Conditional use permit may be granted by City Commission only upon finding the following standards are met: that the proposed conditional use will not impact public health, safety, or welfare, and that it will not impact the peaceful use of existing property or improvements. In considering these standards, the following factors must be considered: location, character, and natural features, type and size of the proposed structure and improvements, historical uses and established use patterns, conformity with the neighborhood plan if there is one, current and proposed ingress and egress, whether it is consistent with the climate change action plan, whether there is a requirement for a variance, hours of operation, noise, glare, odor, and any expressed public opinion related to those factors. Any one of these may be enough to find adverse impacts in justified denial or special conditions. Findings, the proposed additional use will not require any modification to the site or structure. The growth policy designates this as mixed use. The estimated trips per day are similar to current uses into the weekday traffic estimates of the surrounding worship facilities. There is a combination of off-street and on-street parking totaling 22 spaces. No increase in noise level is expected. These are going to be professional business type uses that will operate during normal business hours. There will be the potential for community events approximately 6 times a year, and the applicant states those will be concluded by 8 p.m. Those community events would be part of the community center use that is already existing and would happen regardless of the conditional use permit. No new exterior lighting is proposed, and again, odors are expected to be in line with typical office uses. Similar to the previous item, transportation stated that they do not think this will substantially change traffic. Historic preservation had no objections as the facade will not be altered. Fire, building, addressing public works and parks all stated no comment. Again, the HCC and the police did not provide comment. Again, this was legally noticed on the 27th. Neighbor notices were sent on the 26th. A notice sign was placed on the corner of 10th and Ewing on the 25th. And as of today, I had received no public comment. So the city staff's recommendation is to move to recommend approval of a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow general services professional offices in an R3 zoning district for the property legally described as all of lots 9 in the north half of lots 10, 11, and 12 in block 434 of the Allen addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana. And are there any questions for city staff at this time?
Thank you, Kyle. Are there questions for staff?
I do just have one confirmation. So if pending the approval of this conditional use permit, which of course goes to the city commission, there would be no non-conforming use
Yes, it would
on the
bring
property.
Yeah, it would bring the professional offices use that we allowed to be grandfathered in
Yes.
Into conformity, and yeah, it would grant the new use existing.
Right.
The professional offices use existed because as a sort of a support building of the church, it wasn't a unique entity. It was just an accessory use of the worship facility. So that's how the kind of nonconformity came into compliance.
Gotcha.
Or
Thank you.
into existence, I mean.
Are there further questions for staff? I guess just one for the record to confirm, when we do, when we do and if the city commission agrees to approve a conditional use permit, that stays with that property, including after it may be sold at some point in the future.
Yes, it runs in perpetuity with the land. And there are situations, if they stop using that use, if they violate any conditions you may place on it, there are ways that it can be revoked. But as long as the use is maintained and conforms with any conditions, it runs perpetually.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
At this point, we will again invite the applicant or the applicant's representative, or both, if you'd like to come up and make comments, please do so.
Hello again, Kathy Brown. The only thing that I wanted to say is when I saw the general services up there and the tattoo parlor and the dog grooming and hairstyling, those are not things that we want in the building. We want to maintain the professional, quiet atmosphere, and we respect our neighbors. We love our neighborhood. And so we want to make sure that what we do in the building fits in the neighborhood and is respectful. So.
Thank you.
Hello, Julie Burr again with MJP, Matangish Project. As a board member, I will also second what Kathy said, that a lot of that list is not in the intentions of the use of space. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I do actually have one, if you wouldn't mind coming back up. Can you confirm the quantity of offices that are there currently?
11?
The number?
11.
11. Okay. I was just for context comparing to the amount
Yes.
of parking spaces that were provided, which was 22. So
Yes, of course.
that number works out pretty good, the math.
Right.
Are there further questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We will now open up our public comment period. If there is anyone who would like to provide comment, please come up and introduce yourself.
David Roberts again, and I would, in favor of your approval of the conditional use permit.
Thank you. The other member in the audience waves off. Is there anyone online, Rachel? Or, sorry, April?
It's all right. I do not have any hands raised, no.
Okay, thank you. Last chance. Is there any further public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and we'll move on to any final considerations or questions from the commission. All right, or motions.
I'll move to recommend approval of a resolution granting a conditional use permit to allow general services, professional offices uses in an R3 zoning district for the property legally described as all of lot 9 and the north one half of lots 10, 11, and 12 in block 434 of the Allen addition to the city of Helena, Lewis and Clark County, Montana.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion of the motion? I would like to just say thank you for the outreach to your neighbors. That is much appreciated. I also appreciate the consideration of the heritage and history and also the current the impacts to the current community character. That's really nice to hear that you've thought about all of that. And thank you also for coming into compliance, even if it is a convoluted process. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll do another voice vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you for being here. Thanks. All right, that closes our public hearings portion of the agenda, and we will move on down to public comment. Is there any public comment generally on items that are pertinent to the commission but may not be on the agenda tonight?
For the record, the room is now empty and we have no hands raised online.
Okay, we will assume there's no public comment. Member communications proposals for the next agenda.
So I believe that Michael is going to try to get the sign code back in front of you all for a recommendation next month. I know he was saying that he wanted to get it advertised next week. So I would anticipate us having a meeting for that. Kyle, is there anything else that you know of?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
And I believe, I believe that's it, but I could be wrong. It's been a lot of meetings people been in, so Chris has been kind of hung up with things.
Okay. I did have a question just related to, like, we make recommendations here and then it seems often that the items sort of go into a void and then at some point or before the city commission, would it be possible to like blind copy the zoning commissioners on any like public notice email announcing when our cases will be before city
Yeah,
commission?
we can do that. Just add you to
So that would be the
Some-
planners individually doing
Okay.
that.
Yeah, when
I'll
I,
look at Kyle. That would be very helpful if that's not. too
yeah,
much
when
to
I,
ask.
when I mail the public notices out to the city commission, I can send a copy of that as an email to the zoning commission as well. That's
That would be
fine.
great. Thank you. That way, I would say if zoning commissioners feel so inclined, they are welcome to attend and speak to any of the recommendations that we have made or not made.
And on another note, I would also like to let you all know that the 2025 land use plan update is kicking off the beginning of June. So Housel Levine is our consultant, and they will be here in town the 4th through the 6th. So there'll be a lot happening there. A lot of stuff will go up on social media, etc. So if you're interested in any of that process, we can keep you informed on that as well.
Great. Appreciate that update. That's helpful. Thank you. Any other communications, proposals, or we can move to announcements? Looks like our next meeting is scheduled for June 11th. Ideally, we will have a sign ordinance before us, and that would be lovely.
Not really sure if this is an announcement, but I'm expecting and we'll have a baby potentially in September. So I will not be here during my leave.
Mhm.
And I'm planning to take at least 3 to 4 months leave. So
Okay.
I'm certainly glad you're on the board now so that we don't have as much of a cramped situation when I'm not available.
Yeah, congratulations. And yes, it is nice that we now have a full commission plus alternate. So we should not be short-handed. Thank you. All right, anything further for today? If not, that brings us to the end of our agenda and we are adjourned. Thank you.